Hi everyone, today we're going to share a story that reminds us how strength doesn't always walk in wearing medals or demand attention. Sometimes it steps in, quietly says nothing, and leaves the whole room breathless. It's about a woman who didn't come for the spotlight but walked away with the whole world watching. And it all started in a no-frills gym that reeked of sweat concession food and cheap cologne. This could happen to anyone, even you. So before we dive into the story, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy what I do here. And while you're here, tell me where are you watching from and what time is it where you are? Let's jump in. It smelled like old sneakers, popcorn and hot dogs that had been simmering way too long. The rec center in Birmingham, Alabama was packed shoulder to shoulder, people leaning against the faded blue bleachers, folding chairs, scraping the hardwood, someone hawking knockoff energy drinks out of a duffel bag near the entrance. This wasn't Vegas. This was local, raw. The kind of place where the only rules were sign a waiver, wear a mouth guard, and try not to bleed on the carpet. That afternoon, every eye was on the fights. Bodies crashed, blood sprayed, bets were whispered between handshakes. But no one noticed the woman by the far wall sitting quietly with her hoodie pulled low and her sneakers worn thin at the heel. She didn't have gloves on yet, didn't have a coach, didn't even have a water bottle. Her name was Tasha Reynolds, 34, 5'2" on a good day, quiet, ex-military, no entourage, no hype. Just a woman watching from the edge, waiting for her name to be called. The hoodie was gray. The gym shorts were mismatched. Her expression focused. Not mean, not nervous, just still. Across the room, her soon-to-be opponent was doing the exact opposite. Cole Maddox, 31, full of tattoos and even more attitude. He bounced around the ring, shadow boxing and winking at a group of guys near the front row. Local legend. Known for finishing fights fast and clowning whoever stood across from him, his crew wore matching t-shirts with his nickname on them, Mad Dog Maddox. One even had a portable speaker blaring trap music, like this was his personal entrance stage. When the announcer called the next fight, the noise level shifted. Cole Maddox versus Tasha Reynolds. People blinked. A few murmured. Cole froze mid-laugh and turned toward the sign-in table. He squinted, then saw her Tasha standing up, hoodie half-sipped, walking calmly to the mat. He burst out laughing. "I'm fighting her," he said loud enough for the whole gym to hear. "Yo, she looks like she just clocked out at the DMV." The crowd laughed. Not all of them, but enough. A few exchanged looks. Others chuckled, unsure if it was okay. Tasha didn't flinch. She reached the mat, kicked off her sneakers, and stepped onto the floor like it was just another Tuesday. The ref motioned her over. Cole was still grinning like this was a prank. "You for real?" he asked the ref, nodding toward Tasha. "I don't hit customer service reps, man." The ref ignored him. Tasha stepped forward. Touched gloves, no eye roll, no comeback. Just a nod and a breath. If anyone had been watching closely, really watching, they might have noticed her foot slide behind the other in a smooth, deliberate shift. The stance wasn't random. That was years of training, hidden inside a movement so small it barely registered. But it was real. The bell rang. Cole started with a lazy jab, bouncing showboating. Tasha didn't chase, didn't blink. She circled slowly, hands relaxed, watching his hips. Not his eyes, not his smirk, his movement. He flicked another jab and grinned. "Come on, hit me with something," he teased. Tasha didn't move. She was reading, waiting, not trying to win fast, not trying to win pretty, just trying to time it right. Cole got impatient, threw a wild hook. Big mistake. She ducked, he stepped in close and hit him one sharp left to the ribs. Clean. The pop echoed across the mat like someone snapped a branch. Cole froze. "She hit me," he laughed, more confused than hurt. Then came the spin. Tasha pivoted, brought her heel around, and caught him square in the side. A spinning back kick. Not loud, not flashy, but perfect. Cole stumbled. The crowd gasped. He didn't fall yet. That came next. She swept his leg in one fluid motion. Down he went. Boom! The gym went silent. Not stunned like a TV show. Not slow motion. Just still. Cole hit the mat hard, gloves clutching his ribs. His eyes wide. His ego cracked clean open. Tasha backed up, hands raised, still calm. She didn't gloat. Didn't smile, just waited. The ref checked Cole. He was still breathing, still moving, but something had shifted. Something deeper than pain. Something he didn't know how to explain. Tasha didn't return to the bench. She stayed ready. Someone in the crowd whispered, "Yo!" She dropped him. Another voice, sharper, said, "Who is she?" But that was just round one. Cole stood, barely. His corner shouted instructions, but he didn't really hear them. The jokes were gone. The speaker was silent. The crowd watched now, more curious than amused. The ref stepped in. "You good?" Cole nodded. "Yeah, I'm good." But he wasn't. Tasha. She didn't blink. Bell rang again. Round two. Cole came out harder this time. No jokes, no dancing, no audience. Just fists up, chin tucked, and eyes locked on Tasha like he finally realized this wasn't going to be easy or quick. His legs were stiff but steady, and his shoulders no longer rolled with swagger. They were tight, focused, defensive. But Tasha, she didn't match his intensity. She didn't rise to it. That's not how she worked. She just adjusted. Slightly, subtly. Cole tried to corner her fast. Jab, jab, hook. The kind of combo that would have rattled most of the younger fighters who showed up to these open tournaments. But Tasha was different. She didn't fight scared. She didn't flinch. She blocked the first punch, slipped the second, and took a half step back on the third. She wasn't just reacting. She was studying him like a chessboard, counting seconds, predicting angles. The hook grazed her cheek, just enough to make the crowd gasp. For a split moment, they thought that was it, that she was done. But Tasha just blinked, rolled her shoulder, and tilted her chin with the faintest smile. Not arrogance, not mockery. It was the kind of smile you saw in someone who had seen worse and didn't need to prove it. Cole saw it too, and that's when he hesitated. Because that smile didn't belong to someone unsure. It belonged to someone in control. Tasha dropped her stance a little lower. Elbows tight, feet ready. She shifted weight not in response to Cole's movement, but in preparation. He feinted left. She didn't bite. He faked a right. She stayed still. Then she moved. Not big, not dramatic. Just a quick inside step and a tight knee to his thigh, dead center, sharp surgical. His leg buckled slightly. He grunted. His balance shifted. That was all she needed. She circled again, a light on her feet, like she'd just remembered something she forgot in the car. Cole swung with a looping hook, but she wasn't there anymore. He turned confused, off balance. And then she was right in front of him again, calm, just inches away. She leaned in and said quietly, "Slow down," then pop. One jab, centered between his eyes. It wasn't even that hard, but it was perfect. Cole staggered back, blinking. He wasn't hurt so much as stunned. The crowd exploded. They weren't just watching a fight now, they were witnessing a dismantling, and she wasn't even sweating. Tasha followed with a low kick, same spot on his leg as before. He grunted again, stumbled, favoring that side. His rhythm was gone, his timing broken. She wasn't overpowering him. She was undoing him piece by piece. He swung again. Wild, angry, she let him. She backed up, let him chase her into empty space. He threw another heavy right, missed. That was it. She stepped inside his guard, landed a jab to his temple, just enough to rattle his balance. Then another body shot, same liver spot she tagged in round one. Cole gasped, folded, bent over with a grunt. The ref jumped in. 1, Cole stayed down. 2, his gloves twitched. 3, he tried to rise, wobbled. 4, he stood barely, tried to fake it. Pulled up his shoulders, raised his gloves. But the ref looked him dead in the eyes. "You good?" No answer. Cole blinked, breathing heavy, chest rising like a balloon losing air. The ref waved it off. Crowd erupted. Tasha lowered her hands, slowly took a step back, and nodded once. No cheer, no fist pump, no grin. She turned to her corner, her bench, and picked up her phone. Checked the time like she had somewhere else to be. The match just under 4 minutes. Cole sat on the edge of the mat, still processing. His crew didn't say much. One guy just stared at his shoes. Another looked at his phone like it might explain what just happened. Tasha zipped up her hoodie and walked out through the same door she entered. By the time someone shouted, "Yo, where'd she go?" she was already gone. But the cameras weren't. 3 different angles caught the final combo. One from the bleachers caught the exact moment Cole's eyes widened. Another from the right corner froze the liver shot in crisp, high-def detail. It hit Instagram first. then TikTok, then YouTube. By evening, the captions were everywhere. She just dismantled him. Small, silent, scary. She cooked him like it was personal. But Tasha didn't post. She didn't retweet, didn't hashtag, didn't reply. She went home. And home wasn't much. A small one-bedroom in the north end of Birmingham. Rent was low, paint chipped in places. The kind of place that smelled like old coffee and WD-40. She dropped her gym bag on the counter, pulled off her hoodie, and put a frozen burrito in the microwave. Her knuckles ached. Her cheek was red where Cole's hook grazed her. But she didn't seem tired. She just seemed still. The next morning, she was back at work by 8:00 a.m. Southside Tire and Auto, changing oil, replacing brakes, checking alignment. No one said a word until lunchtime. "You that girl from the fight?" one of the new guys asked, holding up his phone. "You folded that dude." Tasha didn't stop wiping grease off her hands. "You need new rotors or not?" He laughed, held up both hands, and backed away. But the clip kept spreading. By nightfall, local news stations picked it up. Blogs were posting freeze frames. A sports podcast from Atlanta wanted to interview her. She ignored them all. Because for Tasha, this wasn't new. This was what she'd always done: show up, focus, and do the job. And then disappear. It didn't take long before people started digging into who she was. They found the match listing, Tasha Reynolds, 132 pounds, no corner. They found the tournament waiver with her name scrawled in block letters. But no gym affiliation. No social media trail. No flashy pre-fight interviews. Just silence. That made them even more curious. Someone found an old Army enlistment photo, a younger Tasha in uniform, eyes already sharp, lips tight. No smile, no swagger. Just the same stare she had in the ring. A vet, 6 years served, 2 tours, 1 injury. That's all the public knew, and that's all she ever confirmed. There was no big military story online, no viral moment before the knockout, no interviews about her training, because for Tasha, those weren't things you posted. They were things you lived through. She'd grown up in Columbus, Ohio, in a narrow duplex with 3 siblings and a mother who worked nights at the hospital. Her dad left when she was 5. They didn't talk about him. The furnace broke every other winter, so Tasha learned early how to stay warm without heat layers, blankets, and grit. She never liked school, not because she couldn't keep up, she could, but because it never felt useful. She liked structure. She liked doing things with her hands. That's why she enlisted the week she turned 18. Boot camp wasn't the wake-up call it was for most people. For Tasha, it felt familiar. Wake early, train, keep your mouth shut, finish the job. She didn't talk much, didn't laugh much, but her instructors noticed something. Every time they ran hand-to-hand drills, she moved like she'd done it before. She wasn't flashy, she was efficient, sharp. When the combatives instructor asked her where she trained, before, she just shrugged. Nowhere. "You said don't get hit, so I didn't." They started calling her Ghost, not because she was fast, but because she moved without making a sound. Her second tour was rough. Somewhere outside Kandahar, a roadside blast flipped her Humvee. Her shin was torn up. Doctors said she might limp for life. She didn't argue. She just listened, nodded, and started rehab the next day. Pain wasn't new. The silence that came with it wasn't either. She didn't post hospital selfies, didn't cry on video. She just worked. And when the Army let her go, she came home with a healed leg, a quiet mind, and no plans for the spotlight. Instead, she found the calmest job she could, a tire shop in Birmingham. The manager didn't ask questions. She didn't give any. She trained in local gyms when she had time. Nothing serious. No belts, no tournaments. Just bag work, mitt drills, conditioning. She never sparred unless someone asked nicely. Most didn't. One guy did. Tasha dropped him in 40 seconds. After that, they left her alone. Until one Thursday evening, after changing a flat on an old Buick, one of the part-time guys mentioned a fight tournament over in the city. "Open invite," he said. "You'd kill it." She raised an eyebrow. "Real cash prize," he added. "But it gets wild. Just a heads up." Tasha didn't care about the crowd or the cash. She just wanted to know if she still had it. Not the ability to win, the ability to stay calm, to stay composed under noise, pressure, heat. So she signed up. One name on a clipboard. No Instagram story. No training montage. No pre-fight trash talk. Just her and her discipline. And now, days later, the world couldn't stop talking about her. Sports sites speculated about her background. Bloggers tried to interview anyone who had sparred with her. Some even questioned if Cole had thrown the fight. But the ones who'd been there, the ones who'd seen it, knew better. They'd watched her read him like a map, cut him apart like she was untangling a mess. No wasted movement, no drama, no cruelty, just quiet. Meanwhile, Tasha ignored all of it. She woke up, made coffee, walked to work, checked on her neighbor who just had knee surgery, stopped by her aunt's house to fix the faucet. Same hoodie, same boots. She didn't owe anyone an explanation. She'd already said everything she needed to say with her fists. But the ripple kept spreading. A women's boxing coach from Nashville shared the fight video with her team. "I want you all to watch how she moves," she said. "Watch what she doesn't do. That's control." A high school wrestling coach in Atlanta paused his lesson to pull up the clip. "You don't have to be loud to dominate," he told his students. "Watch her feet. Watch her eyes." Even Cole Maddox, finally back on social media after 4 days of silence, posted a grainy video from a local gym. No music, just him hitting a heavy bag. "She was better," he said to the camera. "I didn't take her seriously. That's on me. She earned that win." Some people praised him, some mocked him. Tasha didn't respond. She didn't need to. Her silence had become louder than anything he could say. And back in Birmingham, something strange started happening. More women started showing up to her old gym. Not fighters, not competitors, just regular women, some in hoodies, some in work scrubs, some dragging their teenage daughters behind them. They weren't there to become champions. They just wanted to learn how to stand without shrinking, how to hold their own when the world got loud. The gym's owner noticed. He called Tasha one night. "You did that," he said. She didn't argue. She didn't thank him either. She just said, "Let them train." The next Friday, the gym taped up a fresh sign on the door. "Reynolds Women's Defense, Fridays at 6. No fanfare, no official launch, just a handwritten poster with duct tape holding it down at the corners." The turnout was small at first, 4 women, a teenage girl, and one nervous mom holding her car keys like she might leave if the vibe wasn't right. But they stayed. And more came the week after, and the week after that. Tasha didn't lead the class. That wasn't her way. She didn't bark instructions or shout combos. She didn't stand up front or wear a whistle. She just stood near the edge of the mat, hoodie zipped halfway, arms crossed, watching. The coach running the class, Coach Myra, had been around for years. A local with a no-nonsense tone and a long braid that reached the middle of her back. She ran drills, taught fundamentals, showed the right way to hold a guard, how to slip punches without giving up ground. But it was Tasha the girls kept glancing at. They weren't sure why at first. She didn't say much, didn't correct them with big gestures or long explanations. But every once in a while, she would step forward, tap a wrist, tilt, a shoulder shift, a foot an inch left. Just enough to fix everything, and then step back, like it wasn't hers to claim. After class one evening, a girl with chipped blue nail polish and a black eye from her older brother's temper lingered behind. She walked over to Tasha slowly, like approaching a cat that might spook. "You're her right?" she asked. From the video, Tasha didn't answer. She just raised an eyebrow. The girl swallowed. "You didn't even say anything when he made fun of you." Tasha looked her in the eye. "If I had, that's all anyone would have remembered." The girl nodded, lips pressed together. Then she stayed, every week, and brought 2 friends the next. The women didn't come for belts or titles. They came for something else, something quieter. They came to move like Tasha, to feel what it was like to not flinch. Word spread slowly. A podcast episode mentioned her name in passing. "She's not famous. She's not even on social," the host said. But she walked in, dropped that dude, and walked out like it was laundry day. In a gym in Charlotte, a coach paused a sparring session to say, "You don't need to be loud to be lethal." Ever heard of Reynolds? In a Facebook group for veterans, her name came up in the comments under a thread titled, "Who's the most disciplined fighter you ever trained with?" One reply, short and direct: "Tasha Reynolds. Quietest killer I ever met. Changed my whole outlook on control." Meanwhile, Cole Maddox was training differently now. Gone were the loud warm-ups, the flashy combos, the crew with matching shirts. He'd started showing up to an old-school gym in Mobile, Alabama. No cameras, no music. just tape on his knuckles and his head down. He didn't talk much anymore. Didn't clown on new fighters. Didn't skip drills. He even lost a few sparring sessions and didn't make excuses. Someone asked him once what changed. He just said, "She made me realize how much I was faking it." But Tasha didn't know that. She wasn't watching him. She wasn't watching anyone. She still went to work at the tire shop 5 days a week, still took care of her aunt on Sundays, still rode the same bike she had for 3 years because the brakes worked fine and the tires weren't bald yet. The gym offered her a cut of the class earnings. She declined, said she didn't need it. One night, Coach Myra caught her alone in the supply room folding hand wraps. "You know they'd follow you, right?" Myra said. "If you ever decided to lead." Tasha didn't look up. "I don't want followers." Myra tilted her head. "What do you want?" Tasha paused, wrapped the last strip into a tight roll and said, "For them to know they can hit back." That was enough. The silence had become her signature, but it wasn't the empty kind. It was the kind that held weight. It spoke loudest when others tried to define you, when you didn't give them the reaction they expected, but the result they couldn't forget. And then one Saturday afternoon, something small and unexpected happened. Tasha was at the local Dollar General picking up detergent and peanut butter. Same hoodie, same pace. She didn't notice the girl at first. She was near the freezer section, clutching a frozen pizza with two hands like it might run away. The girl couldn't have been more than 10, braids with red beads, sneakers that lit up at the toes. She stared. "You're the fighter, right?" Tasha blinked. The girl's mom stood nearby in scrubs, looking equal parts proud and apologetic. "You beat that big guy," the girl continued. "Mama showed me on her phone." Tasha chuckled once quiet. "Yeah, I remember." The girl's eyes lit up. "You think I could do that one day?" Tasha crouched to her level, looked her right in the eyes. "You already can," she said. "You just gotta learn when to stay still and when to strike." The girl didn't get it all, but she smiled anyway. Her mom mouthed "thank you" across the aisle. That moment, it wasn't about the punches or the silence or the victory. It was about the spark, the kind you pass on when you stop needing to prove something and start becoming something. Tasha didn't pose for a picture, didn't give her name. She just paid for her things and walked out, same as always. But the little girl, she stood a little taller after that. And the woman who left behind no catchphrase, no brand, no sponsored post, left behind something that mattered a whole lot more. A reason to believe quiet doesn't mean weak, and that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do in a loud world is stand still. By the end of that month, the gym's Friday defense nights were standing room only. What began with a few women unsure of their footing had turned into something stronger, something real. Girls who once flinched at shadows now moved with purpose. Mothers who had never thrown a punch now hit pads with clarity and force. There was laughter, sometimes bruises too, and the kind of tired that made you feel alive again. But still, Tasha never stepped into the center. She stayed off to the side, quiet, steady, present. Coach Myra eventually told a local paper about the classes. A small article ran in the Birmingham Weekly with a blurry photo of the mats, and the headline, "The Quiet Fighter Behind the Rise of Reynolds Fridays." The article didn't mention Tasha by name, just a former military veteran who teaches through presence, not noise. When someone from a national fight magazine reached out for a feature interview, she declined. "It's not my story anymore," she said. "It's theirs." But the truth was, her story had always been more than just that one fight. Cole Maddox may have been the first to underestimate her in public, but he wasn't the first to write her off. That list went all the way back to a high school counselor who told her college might be too much, to a platoon mate who once joked, "You sure you can carry your own weight out there?" And every single time Tasha didn't talk back. She just showed up, again and again and again. The sound of her knuckles against a heavy bag, the quiet breath between, dodges the stillness before a strike that became her voice. And once you heard it, you didn't forget it. She never joined a league, never fought professionally, never looked for a rematch. And when Cole eventually messaged the gym asking to run it back this time, with respect, she said no. Not out of fear, not out of pride, because she'd already said everything she needed to say the first time. No need to speak louder just because people finally started listening. Meanwhile, more girls showed up. One with her hoodie pulled tight, hands shaking, another with bruises from a boyfriend she'd finally left, and a third who just wanted to feel something again after too many days feeling nothing. Tasha didn't coddle them, but she watched them, stepped in when needed, adjusted a stance, held a pad, looked them in the eyes and gave them something rare in this world-calm belief. Not praise, not approval, just quiet certainty. You can take the hit. You're still here. Now move. One night after class, a teenager with bright pink braids and swollen knuckles asked her, "Why didn't you ever go pro?" Tasha didn't look up from taping a pad. "Didn't need to. But you're better than most of the fighters on TV." "Probably. Then why not let them see it?" Tasha finally looked up. "They're already looking," she said. "They just don't know what they're seeing yet." And that was true. Because what people saw in that viral clip wasn't just a woman knocking out a loud man. They saw control. They saw grace. They saw the quiet dismantling of every assumption they had made in the seconds before the bell rang. And now, weeks later, they were still watching, still sharing, still learning. At a gym in Louisville, Kentucky, a coach paused, sparring again to say, "Watch how she steps, how she never wastes a single motion." In a barber shop in New Orleans, someone pulled up the video and said, "This right here. This is what happens when you laugh before reading the room." And on a Tuesday afternoon, a woman in Houston ordered a pair of gloves online, not for her son, not for her husband, for herself. Because strength doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it walks in with quiet eyes, keeps its head down and waits. And when the world laughs, it listens, then it moves. Tasha Reynolds didn't want to be a leader, didn't want to be a name. She just wanted space. Space to breathe, to move, to feel the silence she earned. And by doing that, by staying true to her rhythm, she gave everyone else permission to find theirs. No slogans, no brand deals, just movement, just focus, just presence. So what do we take from Tasha Reynolds? What can we carry with us from a woman who didn't say much, didn't try to go viral, and didn't even flinch when the world mocked her? Maybe it's this: strength doesn't always scream. Power doesn't need to push itself into every room. Sometimes the people who carry the most weight are the ones who speak the least. The ones who've been through storms and came out the other side not with noise, but with clarity. Tasha didn't win that fight because she was the fastest or the strongest. She won because she knew herself. She didn't get rattled. She didn't rush. She didn't need to perform for the crowd. She just waited. And when the time came, she moved with everything she had and then stepped back like it was nothing. That's the lesson. In a world that rewards flash and volume, don't forget the value of silence, of restraint, of knowing your power and not feeling the need to show it until it matters. And if you've ever been overlooked, laughed at, dismissed, or told you weren't built for something, remember this. You don't have to shout to be heard. You don't have to prove anything to everyone. You just have to be ready when the bell rings. And when it does move with intention, stand your ground and trust that everything you've been through is enough. Because quiet strength, it echoes forever.